if we complained all the time about CGI, I don't know if we could
Yeah.
be horror fans, because that's basically where the genre has taken, know. And at this point, it's not whether or not we like CGI or we like practical. At this point, it's who has done the CGI better.
Right. Well, I understand. Like, we're at the day and age where it's CGI is cost efficient, and that's why a lot of people use it. But bring the practical.
We
back.
certainly appreciate when we see the practical.
That's one thing I gotta give. Talk to me. They went practical, and I appreciated that. It's funny you brought up. I was going to bring up the time management on this. I think you can actually shave 10 to 15 minutes off this movie and make it a little bit shorter. The intense situations I did kind of have a problem with, because I don't know. It kind of like felt like it built up a little bit. Built up, and then it kind of went flat for a second, and then something happened. So it kind of threw me off a little bit. I don't know if it was the music, the score, just prolonging the scene. I don't know. It could have been done a little bit better, but it wasn't like god awful or anything like that. It's just me kind of nitpicking. The biggest plot hole to me in this movie that I had a problem with is that they find out where Dracula is in this movie. Obviously, he's on the fucking ship. And then after they know where he's at, they still don't do anything. And I've been battling with this for a couple days. So in my conclusion, I'm either thinking they don't want to mess with him, that's why they didn't do anything, or they were trying to wait until he came out. Like, I'm not exactly 100% sure, and that's probably my biggest problem with this movie, is that plot hole. What about you?
I didn't notice it.
You didn't notice it?
No, I didn't notice it. Like, to me, when they finally found the crate that he was living in,
yeah,
I remember the film, like, after they find it, they immediately put into a plan of drawing him out.
Yeah, but I guess my thing is I'm thinking, like, if you're going to do that, you're going to try to, like, attack it or kill it or go after it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me being nitpicky. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't hunt what you can't kill. You don't hunt what you can't kill. You don't hunt the unknown.
That's
you
true.
know what I'm saying? It's like, if you're going to hunt a big fucking elephant and you've never went elephant hunting and you don't know quite the weapons to bring on the trip, it's probably the best idea to not go, or at least go with somebody who's had experience.
That's a good point. You know, you don't want to run up on it and then be unprepared and fucking die.
Yeah, because at this point, you don't know if bullets will do anything. And
right.
They only have bullets and a couple knives and just, like I said, your bare bones type of deal.
That's true.
And it's a ship. You can't go. You can't go too much further. And like you mentioned it earlier, yes, I do love those isolated events, because I think it's a little bit more scary if you just can't run down the road and knock on somebody's door. If you're just in like one little area, you have to figure out, you have to use your atmosphere around you to, save your own ass. And, but, you told me that you were really floating with like the halves, and we don't do halves. We basically do we do half a star all the way up to 5, right?
Right.
And we don't do like 1.5, 2.5, shit like that.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about what you were saying, because at the time I was setting at a 3.5 in my head on this film.
Right.
So I had to decide, was this film good enough to break that and go to a 4, or was it not good enough and set at a 3?
Right.
And the way I came to the decision in my head is I couldn't justify giving it a 3 because I think it would be a disservice to the performances. So that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Wow. That's crazy. I was actually sitting between a 2.5 and a 3.5. Because
I want to insult you right now, but I'm not.
Well, I got to really thinking about it because
Trying to be mature.
Yeah, you mature. My asshole. Well, okay. So the CGI. Oh, well, okay. Well, let me explain why I was sitting at this because this is my first reaction when we left the theater, right? So I'm sitting here thinking about the plot hole, and then we talked a little bit about one or two scenes that could come off as woke, which this movie, by the way, I don't like the term woke, but I'm going to use it because you people get the gist of it. So there was a couple scenes like your main character and this female, you know, he's like, he goes to give her a gun, and then she's like, I don't need that, and then she like fucking loads the gun real quick. And then I got to thinking about it. Well, he underestimated her, which is fine. And then there was a couple smart features, like when they were first getting crewmates for the ship, and he tries to get on the ship, the main guy, and the captain's right-hand man grabs his hand, and he looks at the top of his hand, and then he flips it over, which was fucking smart. I loved it because I thought they were gonna do something stupid, but he was like, "No calluses on your hand. You don't know hard work."
Right.
And I was like,
for
"That's
for
fucking
those
brilliant."
of you not connecting the dots, he thought that he was going to grab his hand because it was a black guy, and he was going to say something about the skin, but instead he flipped it over and done the whole Quinn thing from Jaws, and you don't know what hard work is.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, was very smart because if this was anybody else, they would have snuck in that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I respect them for that. And the main character, there is no fucking political shit in this, of course there's like one scene where a guy says something about his skin color, which is fine. I expected something like that. Because he was an ignorant asshole. But
yeah. It wasn't the narrative, though.
It wasn't the narrative, and he did it because he was afraid.
Yeah.
And he attacked him, like, out of ignorance. And I understood that. And I respect that. Like, if you have great caliber writing, I like that, you're not going to be offended in that situation.
Right. And the fact that the main character didn't keep that with him the whole movie. He let it go because he recognized why the guy was doing that.
Right.
He didn't why should I save y'all? Y'all don't even like me.
Right.
No, he got right back to the chore,
Yeah.
And he understood what we understood. The guy was saying it because he was stupid and he was ignorant and he was scared and he resorted back to ignorance.
Right.
So,
and that's what I loved about that. Even when he's talking to the captain about when he's going to face Dracula, and he wants to know that he has faced the discrimination and all these hard tribulations through his life that Dracula, or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, they called him Dracula because of her town. That's what. Yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart. He said that I'm going to let him know that he's not going to get over me just like nobody else has gotten over me. And I was like, hell yeah, like kick his fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like I was behind that. Like they did it so fucking well. And there's one scene that we talked about with our buddy Brandon that went with us. Hey, Brandon, we don't have a nickname for you, but hey. When the girl goes to burn, the sun's coming up and she's, faced her death, she doesn't scream when the sun comes up and she's infected, she's a vampire.
And that's another thing that I wanted to bring up.
But all the other people did scream. And I got to thinking about it. Is that maybe they wasn't ready to die. And she had come to terms that this is her fate.
Yeah.
And that's why she went out like she did.
You got to think to yourself, she was set to die in the very beginning. She was there to die. She was there to be a sacrifice to him.
Yeah. And food supply just to get him through, or try to get him through.
And the fact of the matter is, she didn't do it because her people forced her to do it. That was in her culture. She was chosen to be sacrificed, and that was her fate. That she knew it.
Right. And
so by the end of the film,
she come to terms with death.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking about that, and I was like, well, that's not really woke. So I totally respect that, and I'm glad I took a couple days to think about it. I'm sitting at a 3 because I can't put it at 4 because I don't think it's as good as some other movies I've seen that I've given a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give it a 3.5, honestly, but we're not doing half stars, so I'm giving it a 3. But I feel like with a rewatch, it possibly will jump up.
Yeah, that's respectable. I mean, that's what the people want to hear. They don't want to hear us agree all the time. I'm giving it a 4 because I think the performances in the film far outweigh anything negative I have about it, including the CGI.
Absolutely.
So, but a 3 is very respectable. If we were going to 10, you'd be sitting at an 8 right now.
Yeah.
I popped it up to a 9 simply because of the performances and everything, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, if you remember, half a star is total trash, 1 star is bad, 2 star is okay, 3 star is good.
Yeah.
4 star is great, and 5 star is kick-ass. I'm sitting at a great, and you're sitting at a good. At the end of the day, we're both recommending this movie to people.
Absolutely. Go see it in theaters. It's worth the time out of your day to go see it. It's worth buying on Blu-ray. It's worth streaming. It's worth your money. It's worth your time. I'm JT Ripper, and I'm saying thank you for listening to a horrible podcast.
And I'm Todd of Thunder saying toodaloo, and visit tpublic.com for all of your horrible merchandise.
Stay spooky.